Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
Sorry I'm late. I was waiting for a good entrance line.
You actually are late. We were waiting on you. We got Chris.
No, ignore clues. Kill all the zombies.
I'm Kia. Welcome to the show. Today we're reading Static Shock, Rebirth of the Cool. We'll talk more about what that is, and of course we're gonna read Amazing Spider-Man number 7. Afterwards, we're continuing through. We've promised we're gonna read 1 through 12, original Amazing Spider-Man. Option for more. We'll see. We're halfway through right now.
It is amazing.
And Vince, I said it is amazing. Vince, I said you were late. Vince wasn't actually late. We had some technical issues. Took us a while to get started here. But it's late, which means I'm already starting off a little tipsier here this evening. But Static Shock. I don't know anything about Static Shock, really. I thought the character was named Static Shock, but it's just Static.
Yeah, the cartoon was named Static Shock, so I assumed that's the way it was. Because why wouldn't it be? Based
His
off the
name
cartoon.
on the show is just Static too. Like 99% of the time, they never call him Static Shock.
Well, that's like,
Then where did the
we
Shock
don't call
come
you
from?
by your full name. Shock is his last name. You don't call him that every time you talk.
Oh,
Exactly.
So it's Mr. Shock.
that's not true.
Static
but,
Shock. It's not. It's definitely not.
I
true.
remember
But
I remember my roommate in college watching this cartoon and like that Teen Titans cartoon, and like I just wasn't interested. He also watched a lot of Dragon Ball, not even Z, but Dragon Ball. So there's a lot of cartoons on in our room, and they were on, but I never paid attention to a single one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a character I know 99% from cartoons. I didn't watch all of it, but it was on enough that I picked up the gist of it, which is that Static is voiced by Phil Lamar of Mad
Hermes.
TV and Pulp Fiction.
and Samurai Jack and
Yes,
Hermes.
and Samurai Jack, yes. And
Hermes
he's
from
John
Futurama.
Stewart Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Yes, and the Green Lantern. He's every superhero, man.
Yes, he's great. But anyway, yeah, he's Peter Parker, but black. He is in the wrong place at the wrong time in this event that I guess was changed in the comics because I was reading about it. But basically, this weird random happenstance of circumstances caused a bunch of gang members and also this nerd to get superpowers.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
so all the Bang Babies are gang members?
Okay, so first off,
Yes.
we're going to be saying the word bang babies a lot on this episode, and we need you to understand that this is a term used in the comic.
It's also
And the
we're-
show.
We're also reading the second main series of Static because there was like a 90s run with the same writer artist team, and then we're doing Rebirth of the Cool, which came like 8 years later. And so it jumps you in just talking about Bang Babies, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we should
What
be
is a
talking.
bang baby?
Yeah.
So we need to get into the publication history of this a little bit, so we know what we're reading here, and why we're reading it as well. So this was created by Dwayne McDuffie, writer, and artist John Paul Leone. John Paul Leone has done a lot of various work here and there from 2000 up until a couple of years ago, but he did pass away just a couple weeks ago here. So wanted to read something of his. He wrote Earth X, which we might read for the show at some point. He wrote some of the he drew Earth X, and he also drew an issue of that Captain America that we read a little while ago. But we want to do something that we will be able to feature him a little bit. And so, this was a creation of his, and this was, you said 93, right?
Is it May 93? So John Paul Leone, who I know a lot also from like DMZ covers, he did a ton of covers.
Yeah.
He passed away at 49, and I'm like, that's impossible. He was working on like comics in the mid 90s. But apparently he was working on Static while he was still in college in May 93, which I don't know where like Milestone Comics was like a sub branch, I guess, of DC in the mid 90s or early to mid 90s.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if it got absorbed or not, but
Yeah, it was always. I mean, they always had Warner Brother, money as far as backing, but they were more or less independent with some, I guess, veto power if they went too crazy. But yeah, it was Dwayne McDuffie and Christopher Priest and a handful of other, mostly African American writers and artists, which I guess my local comic store owner, who I guess I don't see every week because I don't have a weekly pull list anymore, but he was an inker at Milestone when he would have been probably around the same age as that artist because he's probably in his late 40s now.
wow.
So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this blows my mind how young they are. But yeah, Dwayne McDuffie, the writer, passed away probably over 10 years ago now, if I'm being totally honest. He had created
Yeah, we read
Damage.
Damage
2011.
Control.
Wow. Damage Control, his Fantastic Four, where Black Panther and Storm joined the Fantastic Four. That's what I best know him for. But obviously, I think Static is probably what he was known for first for me because he was the cartoon creator. Or not a cartoon creator.
Mm-hmm.
Static was a cartoon around when I read comics. And I'm like, oh, he's writing Fantastic Four. He did some other stuff.
Right. And then he became
sense.
kind of the unofficial, like, he was kind of the architect of Justice League Unlimited.
That's right.
The first couple of movies, New Frontier, and then he died. And then the movies went off a cliff. So he was kind of in charge of that branch of DC media. Was like his last job there. And he worked at Marvel before that. He did Damage Control and Deathlock. So yeah, Static is him going off away from Marvel. Apparently, he even pitched Static as a Marvel character at some point. But I guess I don't know if it was a creator rights issue or what, but he decided to not make him a Marvel character.
It's funny because he feels like part proto Miles Morales. He feels a lot like Peter Parker, but he also feels a lot like Miss Marvel, just in the world of like the way her powers were created, and just the kind of like fun friends environment that Virgil / Static has. Feels a lot like Kamala Khan to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's trying to make Peter Parker in the 90s where all his friends are like 90s slacker friends.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well,
I can absolutely see how this is an
weird
easy
60s
sell.
friends.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk more a little about what it reminds us of at the end, so we don't get too deep into it here.
The guy identifies with Pikachu, though. I mean, that's he says that.
He does say that. He does.
They play Resident Evil as that's what my quote was from. Was they were playing a Resident Evil game on what looked like a Dreamcast.
Ooh, playing Code Veronica, nice.
So the original Static in '93 had 9 issues, and then we had like the cartoon come out around 2000, and then this miniseries to bring it back to the comics. Just 4 issues: Static Shock, Rebirth of the Cool, and yeah, they make reference to this moment called the Big Bang, which I guess is how he got his powers, like similar to all these other events and blah blah blah.
Yes.
And everyone who has gotten like powers as a result of this is called a Bang Baby, which is I get terrible terminology, but they use it over and over in this comic.
Yeah, I would also it makes more sense once you say that they got all their powers during the Big Bang, but unfortunately they use Bang Baby several times. And again, this is the second miniseries. So I'm coming into the second, but like they use Bang Baby a lot before they ever say the word Big Bang, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm on board with this name.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of I will say there's some problems. I don't think Static's powers are ever described more than once when he's saying, no, I'm just using my powers to tow this bike along. Like, that's the only time I feel like he actually talks about what his powers are doing. Otherwise, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I can see that. He does electrify some goons, like staffs, like some guards that have like batons and stuff. He does like zap them with that, and he tells them that. But yeah.
Okay, that's fair. It's not a lot of explanation, and so right off the bat, Virgil is our main character's name. He's a 15-year-old boy, and he is on the phone with his friend Frida, who has a crush on him, but he's got another girl. We'll talk about that later. He's got a date later, but he's like, hey, I got to continue this conversation with you in a diner. So they go to a diner
because his sister could be listening. This is
right.
Also very, I for kids today listening to this podcast about retro comic books. Before you didn't have cell phones, you had just the same phone line, and you could pick up any phone and listen to what was going on the thing if it was in your house. So you used to spy on your siblings to toy.
I'm confused though as to why like the introductory like exposition-y kind of sequence of this needed 2 scenes that neither of which is particularly important. The first one, I was very confused. Okay, I enjoyed this book more by the end. I didn't like this first issue at all. It made me really mad while I was reading it because they're sitting in this diner and she says, the whole story is that the team wants to get him back. We haven't seen it yet. He's just telling his friend, hey, the team wants me back. I don't know if I'm ready for it. And she says, you never told me how you quit. And then we get a flashback to the factory on Paris Island. At least I thought it was a flashback, because that's usually what happens when someone says something like, "You never told me how you quit." Turns out this was not a flashback at all. This was just a different scene. We never.
I was going to say, because I've read this issue twice and there's no flashback.
There's no flashback, but I really read it and I was like, "Oh, okay, we're going to the flashback. We're going to see why he quit." Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can see because the coloring ends up having like a purple tint on the next scene, on that scene, so you can see like it may have that like flashback lighting, like that's coded for language. This is a very weird book because, like, Virgil talks about, like, man, I've been out of that game for so long. And I'm like, Virgil, you're 15.
Right.
You're 15. Like, you know, it's just like, everybody wants me back, but I'm retired. And the thing is like, if it takes place, like, in a side DC universe, and it's been 7 years since the publication of the previous series, you can age him up a bit. Just make him in college.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I did in high school. Now I don't.
Or like at least a senior who's getting ready to go to college. Like, give him something interesting, you know?
I mean, I feel like they've aged him up a year, or like, you know, this happened last year and now he's a year later.
This also was published. It was published bi-monthly, but it started 2 months after the cartoon started. So that's the timeline we're looking for publication in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I assume that people who like the cartoon would come to the comics to find more comics. That's what this comic exists for.
Right. I guess
I don't know.
it's kind of a weird, because this isn't, if you
Totally
like the
consistent?
cartoon. Yeah. If you like the cartoon, the first season of the cartoon is basically, I mean, it is a perfect setup of like one season of television, which I feel like the CW has milked for like 1,000 years now, which is basically like we've created a season of villains like right away. Like we gave them all powers. They're all bad guys except our hero. So he's got to fight them all.
I honestly, I'm a big fan of that premise. What was that family with what's it, Vic Mackey? What's that guy's name?
It was called like No Ordinary Family.
No Ordinary. I love that show.
I know you.
And
love
at the
that
end
show.
of the first season, they pulled that stuff. And they gave everyone a bunch of powers, and then the show ended. I was real pissed.
Yeah. It's a good setup, because it's just like, oh, these are bad kids. You know, these are like the cartoon does a good job of like they're both of the like rival gang leaders are dangerous in different ways. One's just like a hothead crazy guy who gets flame powers, obviously, and then the other guy gets like shadow powers and is like more behind the scenes wire type villain. Like I said, the cartoon is good. And so yeah, there's a lot of characters where you're like, who is this? What's going on?
Well, there's definitely too many characters in this, some of which really just shouldn't have been named. I think that would have made this book a lot easier to read. I wrote down in this, so we meet this team in this flashback, not a flashback, but we meet this team. I wrote down their names: DMZ, Fade, Oro, Nina Lamb. That was a mistake on my part.
I know that.
It was a mistake because they never show up again. I don't know why I wrote this.
I honestly, like, in reading this the second time, I thought the first time they were bad guys trying to hunt down Virgil and not like friends or other. Like,
they're characters from the series Blood Syndicate, which nobody tells you that. But that's where they're from. They're from a different Milestone series that they also got their powers from the same event, basically. They were
so the Bang Babies
team.
But no, they're not Bang Babies, because they specifically say they don't, because we'll find out later the villain wants Bang Babies to keep power going on. Wants Bang Babies, not wants to. But he wants them.
Blood Syndicate.
And they say these aren't Bang Babies, but they have superpowers, which means that the villain can leech their powers. I think he'll still want them.
Yeah,
they still want them.
Yeah, some of them are, some of them aren't. Is the short version.
Anyways, you know,
this book
quick
assumes,
editor's note would have been great.
Then there is an editor's note, like 20
there
pages.
We'll talk
he's like,
about
he used to be part of
it.
this team, and I'm like, well, shit.
I'm like,
there's been.
Yes. I could tell from context clues. You've been talking about how he used to be on a team forever. Give me the editor's notes on things I need. Come on, man.
This book, I'm not gonna tell Dwayne McDuffie how to write, but it assumes an audience knows a lot about this and cares a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's any different than me jumping into an Avengers event and just expecting to know everybody anyways and just picking it up through osmosis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
like,
I mean,
at the same time, all right, go ahead.
I mean, it's harder. Like the relationship stuff is harder because like, I don't really care. You know, it's like you see, I forget the girl with speed powers, and you're like, okay, she's Asian, she has speed powers.
She's pink or
that's
purple.
her character.
The pink or purple girl. I don't know. That's all.
But then it's just like his interpersonal life, where he's got a sister that he's kind of feuding with. Then he's got a girlfriend. Then he's got a best friend who is a girl, who's kind of his Mary Jane. And you're like, okay, who is who? Like, there's kind of too much going on that front to also introduce like 6 or 7 superheroes for him to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'cause, like his sister appears to be his age, or at least is drawn similarly enough. And so after all this scene with these other heroes who, yeah, we see them, like we see this crew that's juicing up and goes after them. They're just gonna be some of the people we fight. But we cut to a bunch of high school.
She's 2 years older than him in the cartoon, so if he's a sophomore, she would be a senior because she was like kind of an annoying big sister. Was her character in the cartoon?
And we cut to a bunch of high school geeks playing Resident Evil. Which seems like a weird group game to play, but it works.
We did that with Resident Evil 2, though. I remember that.
Okay.
I remember.
And we're meeting all these people. There's a whole thing about I'm assuming this Richard versus Richie character is going to become important because they make a big deal about his name, and I definitely remember his name, Richard. So I wrote that down.
Yeah, I mean he'll be voiced by James Marsden in the cartoon.
Oh, Cyclops himself.
No, the guy from Boy Meets World.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was still again a mistake because this character.
Okay.
That's right.
This character never showed up again. So again, I'm like, why am I paying attention to the names of? I don't remember his girlfriend's name, but I remember Madison. Richie's name of all people. Was it Madison? All right, fine. I'll trust you. Frida is a little jealous of that girl. There's references to like the Algonquin Round Table and Dorothy Parker. Like, I don't know any like 15-year-old nerds who like video games and Pokemon who know Dorothy Parker quotes. Like, that feels like the wrong area of nerddom, right? But again, I don't know. I don't know this kid.
It's trying to establish that Virgil is a huge nerd, but it's doing it in kind of an artificial way. I feel like, you know, like you can show that he's a big old nerd without him like quoting The Great Gatsby or whatever. I mean, it's like we get it. He's a nerd. That's kind of core, I guess, because again, he is very Peter Parker-y. And we're now like in year 2 Peter Parker, where he's like cool and like wears a leather jacket or whatever, and Harry Osborn is his friend. But
but still, all the nerd like stuff is very artificial and just like, oh, it's just a layer to put on top of it, and like these are the things he likes, and it doesn't actually drive much of his character. I don't think he doesn't seem like, I don't know. It doesn't seem to. Well, whatever.
I don't feel like any of Peter Parker's like pop culture references ever landed for me though. Too, whenever people people are like, Tobey Maguire doesn't talk, and I'm like, yeah, because I mean, if it was like that, then he'd be making Pikachu quotes, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if he's like swiping, like fighting the Vulture, going like, I want to be the very best. Like, no, I don't care. This is stupid. I hated it with Spider-Man, and I hate it here. Like, so.
Yeah, I mean, the bit you're describing is more of a Deadpool bit. Spider-Man just would more mock the Vulture for being old or whatever.
Yeah. So this is where we get that editor's note. Blitzen, who can go fast, catches up to Static, and he's like, "Hey, Blitzen, I already told y'all I don't want to be on the team anymore." Editor's note: Blitzen is a member of Heroes, the team Static used to be a member of. Again,
I got that one. Though. I picked up that
Heroes?
context.
The name of their team was Heroes?
Yeah.
Just Heroes? That's it?
Hey, we wasted all our good naming on Bang Babies. We
So she's like, hey, but there's these missing Bang Babies. Listen, Virgil, they got Donner. We need your help. He says no. So she says, screw you, and she runs off.
So the Heroes had Donner and Blitzen?
The Heroes. Right. Oh my God, you're right. I didn't even realize that.
Okay.
And then Hardware, another hero, has been following him around in a limo, but his leg is broken. And he's like, I can't do it anymore. And look at these 2 other holograms. They're in space. They can't come down and help. We need you, man. You got your powers at the Big Bang, right? You're a Bang Baby. They're going to come after you.
Again, more Milestone characters. I think Icon is the guy in space, and Hardware was their sort of Punisher, Iron Man type, vigilante that is kind of a supporting character in this.
Yeah, Hardware sticks around. Blitzen also, we'll see some more of her. We finally start to meet the characters who we are going to be populating this book with,
I,
which is
I
nice.
I feel like this is where we should have started. Or like
Something like that. There's
I feel like I didn't know what was really going on. I mean, I guess like, oh well, he quit being a superhero. I'm like, I like those kind of scenes, and I generally like retired superheroes, so that's fine. And then
they
like, why?
retired at 15.
Yeah, I know. But again, why if he was 22, this would have been fine, or 18. But then like they're pulling you back in because of this. Like now the hook has appeared, whereas like I really don't care about, you know, that his best friend has a crush on him, and this other girl is also upset with her, but it's not the girl that Virgil's dating. Like I don't care about any of these things. So.
And the storylines like often don't feel like they intertwine in any way with his personal life. Like this moment right here is kind of the closest that it does, where he's at the mall with his family, and one of the other heroes, Stella, aka Starlight, has been following him, and comes up to him and says like, "Hey, you're the bait." And like that's not really how this is going, though. It's not like he's the bait. It's more like these people were going to be coming after him anyways, and she's kind of his protection. Like that's what I got from it. Anyways, calling him the bait seems weird, but anyways, that's her plan. She's there, and the bad guys attack, going after the Bang Babies, and there's a big explosion. Oh my god! And so he's like, "All right, I got to jump into the action." They got Stella down, and he's in costume, and he says, "The name is Static. If you don't start none, there won't be none." Although there has already been a big explosion, so I'm a little confused there.
He also put this mask together in the mall out of like stuff he found in this costume, which I kind of like, and that's a fun thing I like.
I do like that.
John Peleon's like
Yeah.
art is really good for like fashion. Like he's one of those
Yeah.
artists that like puts good clothes on people, because like if I drew something, it'd just be like t-shirts and the pants. But like he's got good like layered clothing. I like this static shot, or the static costume is like not his permanent costume, but like kind of evoking it, but wearing a cool coat and like goggles he found at the mall. It's very fashiony. I like it.
Yeah, we haven't really described his art throughout this, but it has a very like, I want to say like a muddy look, but not in a negative way. It has that just kind of darkness and
Leone's art
don't know,
by
it's
this point, it wasn't with the original static, but it became very inked. Like thick inked lines, and his colorist always seemed to have very thick saturated colors without much tone differential. So it wasn't airbrushed or digitally colored ever. His colorist here is Melissa Edwards, but I would say like Dave Stewart is probably your closest colorist, or maybe like if you read that Hawkeye by David Aja with the like very limited color tones, like that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it is funny, and I don't know, maybe I'm just nitpicking, but like I do think it's funny he never drew. He might have done covers for it, but he never had like a run on Batman, because like I feel like he'd be great for like Batman or a Gotham Central or something like that.
Yeah, it's a Gotham Central, like a Michael Lark branch of.
very Michael Lark. Yeah.
He did Captain America with Brubaker for that one issue, but yeah, he seems like a Captain America artist. He did a Human Target. I remember that I really liked. I think Peter Milligan wrote that. Maybe Javier Pulido was the other artist for that, if I'm not mistaken. That was good.
I don't know.
It is. Go ahead, Chris.
I don't know that I love his art, like doing, teen superheroes. It's funny, like I was just looking at the Heroes page on Wikipedia, because I have to confess I never read Heroes by Milestone Comics. But apparently,
how dare you,
Chris? How dare you? Just get off the show now.
Yeah, but apparently Chris Cross, who did I think Amazing Spider-Man or Peter Parker Spider-Man in the 90s, was the artist for that. And I was like, oh, like he's perfect for this kind of book, like because he's got that kind of like anime influenced, like his art is very like I could see where kids would like it, and it would be very friendly for a young adult book. This art is not quite that.
It's more he's perfect for like boiled noir stuff, like which doesn't feel right for like a teen book, because the kids don't look like teenagers to me in this. And also there's there's a ton of cast, and I have a hard time keeping track of everybody. But it like his art is also really good, and I enjoyed it. He did Catwoman covers also, I think, more recently, which also seems like a really good fit for him, because I was looking for a book to cover for John Peleon, and I'm like, ooh, John Peleon Catwoman would be really good. But it looked like it was just his covers.
Yeah, again, more the Brubaker and Darwin Cook with that style.
We need to do that one seriously at some point.
We should.
So let's jump into issue 2 here. Some weird dialogue from Static, who's talking to himself, saying, "Wow, this team of bad guys is working like a pack of lions. Well, I must look like a Christian, lightly buttered in catnip, because lions do only like to eat Christians."
I mean, the best-selling book of all time does mention that quite a few times. The Bible.
Well, sure. I guess it seems like a very weird analogy to pull out from the other side, though, of like, boy, these fucking people who just almost murdered this former teammate of mine were working so hard. I'm like a pack of Christians. Okay, he's throwing out one-liners left and right instantly, which none of them hit. None of them hit, but it also just doesn't work for me for where the character is at. Like, I thought he was afraid to get back into action. I thought there was some hesitance. I thought there was, like, anything. But as a 15-year-old kid, you're telling me he's, like, 100% confident jumping back into this? He's not, like... Give me some of his narrative of, like, oh, boy, getting back into it feels good to do this for the first time again. Oh, trying to make this work, talking about my powers and seeing what we're doing because the first time. No, it's just a bunch of junk that isn't landing. I was really bummed about this.
I think this book is going to comes together a lot more in the next 2 issues.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But these first 2, I still wasn't feeling it. But bad guys teleport away, and the team of good guys show up. They got there just after all the action, but must have been hanging out and doing nothing, waiting. They supersize an ambulance because one of them has the power to do that. Iota, she's pretty cool. She can shrink things. I like that.
Yeah, those are cool powers. I guess it's Hank Pym's Avengers West Coast powers, but still good.
Mm-hmm. And then after he kind of talks to them, he's like, okay, I should probably get back to my family, who was also in this mall where there was just an explosion. And he goes, and it's a weird scene with his family. Oh, my God. I didn't know his dad was there at the mall. I thought it was, another guy with glasses. Because something he said was, weirdly threatening, I thought. But then I'm like, no, it's just his dad. And then he tells his mom he's feeling horny because explosions make him horny. This was a weird scene.
That joke was funny. I don't know what you're talking about, Keanu.
It was just a weird scene.
It was oh, I have to go see my girlfriend. And, yeah, and the mom is like, now? And then the dad's like, whatever, explosions probably made him horny.
No, explosions make me horny too. Because dad has got one-track mind. He is ready to bang mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So then we get a staple of every good Spider-Man book. Are we ready for it? We got a dude in the shadows here, y'all.
Yeah. A culty looking dude in the shadows.
A dude in the statues. So this paid for hire team, whatever. It's their boss, and he's been supplying them with the drugs that they've been juicing up on to get powers, and he's not going to give them anymore for a week. Because they failed here, and we'll see which one of them survives, and maybe they'll get be part of the next team. Meanwhile, Static goes to see Hardware. He flies on a trash can lid. That's when I was like, oh yeah, he did that in the cartoons all the time, right?
I don't know.
I feel like that's all I remember seeing.
That's his main mode of transportation in the cartoons.
Flying trash can lid. Yeah, he just brings it to life and he zooms around on it.
So there's all these trash cans with no lids just in town?
Well, maybe he's got
a trash can share, like a ride share where they just kind of end up together?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. He just takes one from whoever doesn't have a lid, and it all evens out in the end, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
This is where I'm concerned.
So he goes to see Hardware, and he's like, hey, I ran up against those Bang Baby Snatchers, which if you didn't like the phrase Bang Baby, you're not going to like the phrase Bang Baby Snatchers, okay? I didn't like it. He gets home from... So Hardware is like, hey, I'm working on some stuff. I'll call you when it's ready. He goes home, and his dad tries to, cut off his hair instantly while he's still wearing his backpack and everything. This dad is the weirdest guy. I don't trust him. But he's like, hey, your hair is nappy. You need to cut it. And he says, no, well, can my sister do it instead? And she says, no, I'm still mad at you for saying I'm ugly. He's like, well, I know someone who can help with that. And he goes to his best friend to do his hair instead. We never see his hair because he wears a cap for the whole rest of the book. And I don't know how his hair turned out. I guess he didn't like it. Um, and he gets a call from his girlfriend who's upset because he went to see his best friend.
How many pages
And
do they spend on this haircut?
they spent a lot of time on this haircut.
This haircut takes 3 pages. This thing is only like 96 pages. Okay. This is 3% of the story.
I don't understand what it had to. I mean, I think a lot of this is Dwayne McDuffie being really proud of his heritage and wanting to do a character who is like has a lot of these great details that you don't see in other books, which makes sense to me. Right. I think for me the problem is they just end up being separate details that aren't actually like a part of the story.
Yeah, I think your line about like that they're all like side stories but they don't intertwine correctly, I think is a very good point.
Yeah. And again, I do like because I've been talking about it in our Spider-Man rereads or our Spider-Man monthly reads. Every time there's a dream sequence of like Aunt May like selling shoelaces or whatever, he has like a dream sequence of him with like his head just shaved like a baby. Yeah, and I was like, that's pretty good. That's he doesn't want that just completely cropped baby haircut. He wants to have like a natural look. So I appreciate that. You know, again, I understand it's like that to me, it would not be that big of a deal, but it's more of a bigger deal for him.
Right.
But it does get him to get more like scene with Frida, like than like in the previous issue, which I didn't really like get her. I feel like I got her more in this page. So it gave him like an excuse to go to her. So
right. And it is setting up, I guess, is it issue 3 or 4, where they just have the one scene where the girlfriend is like, hey, like we need to talk. You are very clearly like his best friend and just like interested in him. What's going on?
Yeah. So he is on the phone with his girlfriend, the girlfriend Madison. She's mad. She hangs up. But then he gets a call again immediately, and so he answers like, "Hey, Madison," and it's Hardware. He's like, "Of course this is Madison. Listen, I have some important news. I've discovered they're grinding up bang babies to make drugs," which is a sentence I wrote down in all caps because I think that's like you can sell anything with that. And I was like, all right. Then he hangs up, and his friend Frida is just like, so who was that? Sounded important, maybe. But he's like, I gotta go. He goes back to the team, and there's some business here about someone's older brother who used to be the leader of the team, and they all worked for him, but they don't anymore because they didn't get along about this. And there's a lot of details about this guy, and I'm not actually positive which guy it was. Was it like the Native American looking guy? I don't know. They go to him. They do some shadow sliding to get over there. We get a description of shadow sliding. We get a description about a lot of stuff that never comes up again. And they go to the shadow cabinet, which is not where the dude in shadows lived. It's a different dude. And he says, and they're like, hey, can you tell me where they've got the bang babies? And he says, I'm not going to tell you. And they're like, what? Why not? Because I've seen the future. And in the future, I know that in this time, I don't tell you, so I'm not going to tell you. Well, aren't you worried about it? No, because I know that he will over there. He's going to tell you. Like, God, you fucking asshole.
That was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fine.
That's fine. That guy was a jerk, though. And then they're like, all right, we're ready to go. And Hardware shows up, and he's dressed up like a Super Cyber Boba Fett kind of deal or something like that.
This cliffhanger doesn't work for me where it's like, what are we going to do? And then I can help. And then like Hardware cliffhanger. And like, the problem is like, I didn't track that the dude he was talking to earlier was named Hardware because he only said his name once in the first scene. And even Frida, there's opportunities to like reinforce like Hardware is going to be our cliffhanger here because Frida says like, who was that? And Virgil doesn't answer. And even when that phone happens, like, right after he gets off the phone with Madison and he calls like, do I sound like Madison? Like, you could have said like, oh, hey, Hardware, just to reinforce the name, or maybe put like his costume in the background to like, let me know that this dude is a hero, and this is what his costume looks like. Because I don't know, like, this is the first time I've ever seen this dude. And to be fair, like, I'm coming into the second series. I get that. I'm probably coming off the cartoon where Hardware may or may not have been there.
I
But
don't think Hardware's in the cartoon.
yeah,
I mean, unless he has like a cameo, he's not a regular character.
so this dude doesn't resonate with me coming into this cliffhanger to then be on the cover of the 3rd issue. Like, I don't know who this is.
Hey, it doesn't matter if you don't know. It's a cool looking robot, and they're hoping. I think that's all that's gonna.
It's like a busted ass robot with like weird pipes on him, but looks like a very assembled costume.
It looks like if you told like Alex Maleev, not Maleev, who's the guy who does Jim Mahfood? Do y'all know him? Have we ever talked about him on the show?
Wah-huh.
Yeah,
He did. Wah-huh.
If you told him to draw like a Boba Fett combined with a
With the
Man,
Baron
I think it
Zemo
might
mask.
look like this. With a I don't know, man. Weird. We get into the next issue. The team is at a park, and there's a statue of the Towers family. They were the first superheroes of this world, specifically John Towers. Before who unfortunately died. Oh, I wonder why we just learned all this stuff about the Towers family. So they're hanging out in the park because they're planning their attack, and they're like about to go attack. I don't remember. They talk about some stuff here. His 2 girlfriends are fighting at the movie. It's not really fighting, but they're like, "Hey, let's talk about it." Like Chris was saying, they talk. They attack the gang people, and they're like, "Hey, we're in their base. I found the missing Bang Babies. They're still alive. The Bang Babies are still alive." And then guess who shows up? It's the dude in the shadows. Well, we don't even know that yet. It's John Tower. Oh my God, what a surprise! John Tower, who we just met from earlier this issue, showed up again. He's not dead.
This issue though did do my point though. They introduced his name at the beginning, then they said his name, reinforced it in the middle scene.
Yes.
And now we're shocked that he's here. Okay.
Yeah.
This is how it's supposed to go. Yeah, it's okay.
And then they very quickly reveal. Turns out he's also the bad guy. A little fast, but it's okay. A betrayal from a first person that we thought was dead and who just showed up.
I'm actually alive. This feels very Watchmen-y to me. It was like the 1930s team. Everybody died, but actually one of them turns out to be evil, which isn't Watchmen-y.
I'm actually alive. Hooray! I'm actually evil. No.
Yeah. I mean, it was very obvious he's good. I mean, they set him up as like a Reed Richards type, and then he's alive. You're like, well, you're evil, obviously.
Yeah. And the idea is that when he came back from the dead, it took so much energy from him that he needed to replenish his powers, and they're turning the blood from the Bang Babies into drugs, and that's how he's been taking them. And ever since he came back from the dead, he's just feeding on his power, and then he kills Hardware. No.
Hardware's okay though.
Hardware's fine. Hardware's okay. Yeah, he's just piloting it remotely like Iron Man does.
Yeah, well, we find that out at the beginning of issue 4 after him being like, "You killed Hardware," and he's like, "Yes."
And then the John Tower, the bad guy, he has the powers of every Bang Baby whose blood that he's drank.
Again, I like this. I like this. I like the stakes are high. They're pitted against Static / Virgil. It's like, you are a dude who's been retired for a long time. You have one set of powers. I've been a superhero for 60 years, and I have all these powers. So fuck you. I like that. I'm cool with this. This is very straightforward, but it's also like, I get it. This feels like this. Now I feel like a teen superhero who's up against something that's like above his weight class. So I feel like Miles. I feel like Peter Parker. I'm on.
Yeah, makes sense.
And it's the obvious, like, if you want to make a villain, you want him to be the opposite of the hero. So you got a 15-year-old, like, give him a 70-some-year-old man for him to fight. I guess see our monthly read for Spider-Man for more.
So this is all straightforward. This is pretty good for me. I'm on board. Yeah. Everybody else, like in Big Hero 6, has kind of like gone away. Like the rest of the team is there, but more for just like visual flair, and it's really.
Did you say Big Hero 6 on purpose?
Yes, I did. That's what it's what I wanted Big Hero 6 to be. I'm like, we just need to focus on the 2 main characters, like in the movie.
It is funny that he's like, he wasn't even on the team, and then they're like, Virgil, what should we do? You're the leader.
Well, I think what everybody else was gonna quit and like go regroup, and Virgil's like, fuck that.
Yeah. So let's just jump to that. Like, we have some fighting, but things aren't going great, and Blitzen ends up being left behind while everyone escapes, and they're like, all right, let's sort of regroup. And we haven't really mentioned this, but the reason that Static left, we kind of got some hints at it here and there, is that an old member of the team, he left them behind and they ended up dying, which yeah, that would weigh on you. And so he says, no, I'm not going to leave anyone else behind this time. We have to go back in there. And everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, we can do that. I guess you have a plan. And he talks to John Tower, and he like appeals to him. I like this scene where it's just like, okay, it's a perfect just hero and villain talking to each other kind of scene about like, hey man, you're a hero. Shouldn't you be good instead of bad? And the villain disagrees. He says, actually, I should be bad because that's better for me right now. So thank you very much. And Static says, okay, well, this whole time that we were talking, I already deactivated all the thing, and all the superheroes that you had locked up are going to escape. And we see a really nice spread of all that. This is probably also the most colorful page in the book of just everyone attacking all at once. A really nice spread. And
again, we're not fans enough of the Milestone Universe to identify all these people, but I assume these are all people from Blood Syndicate and Static, which lasted like 50 issues. So I assume he's got a decent rogues gallery, and they all are there to punch Tower.
Yeah, and they punch him pretty good. And the team
all go
wins
one at a time. I love it.
Yeah.
It's very
and everything goes pretty good. It's a pretty standard fight heavy final issue of a storyline here. Afterwards, we get a nice little scene of Virgil talking to Frida, saying, maybe I did like that. Wow. And so did we, was that it? Did anything else happen here? I didn't write anything down. I wrote here's what I wrote down for issue 4. This is all by memory. I wrote down, he has the powers of every Bang Baby. Please stop saying Bang Baby. That's all I wrote down for issue 4. Is there anything I missed?
No.
I mean, it's setting up the status quo, I guess. He tells Frida he's going to keep being Static. But I guess he really doesn't, because later, it's 6 years later or 5 years later, they finally bring him into the DC universe. Because they really want to put him on the Teen Titans when the TV show comes out. But I guess there's like red tape keeping them from doing it for a long time.
Well, it looks like Milestone was actually like, it's been printed, but it's completely creator owned. So like DC doesn't technically own Static at this point.
Right, but I think they do now.
Yeah.
I feel like they worked that out whenever New 52 came out, and also Dwayne McDuffie died.
Yeah, wasn't Static like really troubled during New 52? Like it got like its writers fired like really quickly or something.
It was literally the first book canceled in the New 52. I think it was like 5 issues. It was rough. Which again, it shouldn't be that hard. Like make it like the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like teen books are easy to write with like a teen protagonist. Like you just throw a little Archie in, throw a little superhero in, secret identity. Like I'm not saying it's like easy, but like they do this all the time. Like it's not that hard, and he's likable.
Yeah. Like literally the most successful like individual hero of the last 50 years is a teenager. So it's doable.
Well, this is I think now that we can talk, like you were saying, this reminds you of Kamala Khan, and like especially with her, it is like she is also a part of an established team, and it's weird to have a solo book where like this, you could have just as easily called this a team book and changed like any of his family moments to just other team moments, it's just that all of the personal moments happen to be Static's moments, and I don't know what it is, but I feel like I haven't seen many books introducing a solo character, even though this is like his second run, but that are already a part of like a team, or like being brought back into a team or something like that.
I do feel like it's trying to do a little too much, and and again, I am not the creator of Static, but if it were me and I were reintroducing the character, I would make a character like have him fight a villain with personal stakes. Like again, just steal Spider-Man things. Venom is such a great villain because Venom threatens all of his like family and friends, because Venom knows his secret and is like a big scary version of him. Like just do that, Like just have a character who threatens his friends and his girlfriend and Frida and all these people, and Richie. And then if you want to set up that supporting cast, it'll pay off in like, oh no, now this guy knows who I am or is targeting my friends, and that's the thing that makes that different from like a regular story, that we would have been doing before. But again, I'm not the creator of Static. I don't know. I didn't hate this, but I do feel like this was like kind of trying to do too much.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. It was just like hard not to see the missed opportunities kind of all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like its desire to be like, it felt like it wanted to be a milestone reunion in 4 issues was just like too much to pack in.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just like we don't know Hardware and all these characters well enough to like be like, oh, it's our good friend Hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember like when Marvel, what was it? Did they bring the Crushgen books back, or when they brought like Rune back and a few other ones? Yes. Like, I don't know if like how heavily they knew to say like, are we building this for a new audience or like for our previous audience?
Well, here's the thing. I think that's also, boy, we're gonna get deep into conversation about this. That's like the art of comic book writing, right? Is every issue gonna be there for a brand new reader or just to continue the story? And it's got to be a combination of both. Mm-hmm. Which I think might segue pretty well into Amazing Spider-Man #7, which we are also going to read with the return of the Vulture. Unless we have anything else to say about Static. No, I'm going to watch the cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon is pretty good. It's like any cartoon of that era. There's some episodes where the animation does not hold up, but if you watch the like good anime, like I think the pilot is pretty good, and there's some really good episodes of that cartoon where, like I said, it is a very simple premise of like, oh, the first episode sets up these are going to be the villains he fights, but I think it is a very well done TV pilot, and it lasted like 4 seasons. I mean, he crossed over with the Justice League Unlimited, and like it's a whole deal.
The bones are there.
The character also showed up in Young Justice, so I do love Young Justice. Always got to recommend that. But yeah, let's jump on over to Amazing Spider-Man now. This is the return of the Vulture, who showed up in issue #2. So we start off with a quick recap of that issue and how Spider-Man developed these anti-magnetic inverters to defeat him the first time. And since going to prison, Vulture has been a model prisoner, and the warden made him a trustee, let him use the machine shop. What a good Vulture!
This feels so much like Dogman with the evil cat. I don't know if you remember him. We're back on reading Dogman and Captain Underpants right now.
Yes.
But yeah, that cat just be like, I'm so good, and then he escapes from prison at the beginning of every book. Like that feels very much. This tracks.
Yeah, very much so. He has been making his own very weak version of his flying wings
like Tony Stark. I love it.
Yes, and like hiding them under his coat as he heads back to his cell every night. And the scene of him just kind of very lightly jumping over the prison walls as a prisoner is like, "Hey, you escaped." I love it.
I love it.
We have Flash bullying Peter during volleyball at school. I don't know what kind of ball is that. It looks like a giant gray.
I thought it was like a giant medicine ball.
Yeah, it's a big medicine ball for some reason.
All right. So, what does Flash say? He's like, "Hey, how about this big bad heavy ball?" And he like tosses it at Peter, who's like, "Yeah, I don't know. I can't handle balls." But for the second issue in a row, we get our news for this issue by a kid who's listening to a new report on his radio. And is just like walking right in a very inappropriate situation. First at the museum, and now just like in the middle of a volleyball game.
In PE class during a game.
Yeah, dude. But the news says the Vulture has escaped, and so Peter has to pretend like he's a weakling and be like, "I can't play volleyball. I gotta go." And Vulture, meanwhile, is testing his new flying machine. He's flying around, and a helicopter spots him. So he's like, all right, we can really test this thing now under combat conditions. And he, like, flies and swoops away from this helicopter. He's like, wow, I outran that helicopter. He decides there's no aircraft that can catch him, which I feel like you need more testing, man. That's just a helicopter.
Case closed.
He steals some jewelry, and then he flies kind of low on purpose so that he stays under radar so the cops can't shoot at him.
I love this stuff. It's like, how did you get in here, Vulture? The same way I'm going to leave. Now give me the jewelry. And then he I love it.
There's a lot of great drawings of people's faces in this book on the street. They're more detailed than I would expect, whereas somebody do something. Like what? I just really like that line.
Yeah.
So Peter is. Go
I
ahead.
do love how smug Vulture is. He's just a man with a gun and a
Hmm.
flying suit.
Yep, that's all you
But he
need.
thinks he's
Yeah.
like the smartest man who's ever lived. Like he has a part where he's like tapping his brain like he's a wrestling heel who's outsmarted the hero.
He looks like that
Where he's
meme
Well,
of like that guy that like taps on his head like, you know. I feel like we could make that into a meme with just the Vulture pointing at the screen. Like,
yep,
I
where
want to
he's
well,
also
like,
he's
establish we're in like page 6.
yep.
yeah. Yeah. So Vulture also I think overthinks things. So Spider-Man shows up and he's flying right at him, and Vulture is flying right at Spider-Man, and Spider-Man uses the inverter, and Vulture says, "Great, now I'll just pretend to be knocked out and falling down, and then when he comes down after me, I'll get him." Like you were already swooping right at him, and he wasn't doing anything. You could have just gotten him right there. Um,
Nope, I've got to swoop down, trick him like I'm dead, and then double uppercut him.
yeah.
Surprise, Spider-Man.
So Spider-Man is falling down. He is shooting for building. His web misses, and it misses again. He's like, "Oh, geez, all right. I need to spin around in the air to slow my descent, because that works." And then he just like slams on top of some room, and everyone on the ground is like, "Hey, well, shit, there goes Spider-Man." And like one cop is like, "Oh man, I know J. Jonah Jameson always talks about how bad he was, but secretly we cops just always kind of felt like maybe he was on our side." Oh, so sad. But Spider-Man, of course, gets up. He's fine. His arm's a little broken,
His
maybe
arm's a
just feels.
little broken. I do appreciate this though. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm sure Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, is not groundbreaking. It's not the first superhero book to ever do this, but I like the idea of when you watch any action movie like Fast and Furious, you're like, their arms are fucking broken. And his
Yeah.
arm is broken for
Yeah.
this issue. I like that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
when you reach out and grab a ledge with one hand and hold on, it's like, yeah, your shoulder would just separate immediately.
Your arm is gonna fall off.
So I appreciate
So
that. I appreciate that.
yeah.
And because this is kind of like in real time monthly, like he'll be healed by next issue. It works.
Hmm.
Right. And he does have I guess good healing and whatever, so he like hides how bad it is when he runs into Aunt May later, and it's like, oh, my arm.
But it establishes like
Yeah.
good context and like good stakes. I mean, this is no different. What do we read? It was when Gwen Stacy died. Like he had the flu, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Peter's very real. Like he's not always 100% in every single fight.
I like that. It also gives you an excuse to beat him without permanently weakening him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. In
so-
pro wrestling lingo, he doesn't have
Yep.
to lose cleanly. He can be like, oh no, I was so sick.
So we get a scene where Spider-Man is home, and Aunt May could have swore she heard Peter up in his room. Comes up there, and he's got to hide on the ceiling. Then they go to the doctor. He's got to wear a sling to school, and Flash is teasing him. Peter is like, "Oh my god, if I ever let loose, I'm gonna splatter that clown all over the landscape." Peter has some rage issues, 100%.
He's so mad at Flash, but Flash just keeps
So-
pushing his buttons too. Like,
Yeah. The Vulture has now decided he is going to rob J. Jonah Jameson. His brilliant plan is that it's the end of the week. He's going to take all the paychecks. I don't know how he's going to cash them, but he's going to take them.
Yeah. He must have a lot for payroll. Do they pay people in cash in 1963 at this scale?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I like people
question.
may not trust their banks. I know they didn't 30 years earlier, so
Yeah.
it may be envelopes full of cash. That may be legit.
wow.
It could be. So Peter shows up to J. Jonah Jameson's office to sell him some photos he took of the Vulture, and Betty's like, "Hey, why is your arm really in a sling? This doesn't seem like a volleyball accident." And Peter, I really love this. Peter is like, "Oh, I sprained it while I was fighting the Vulture," and she's like, "Oh, jeez, Peter." Peter is. I really like Betty Brant, by the way. She's so great.
I like this. It's been a slow burn. I still don't know how old she is to be flirting with a 15-year-old. But
This is true.
I'm hoping she's also an intern that's in high school, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
But that being said, like I really like this slow burn. They're kind of like flirting. I like Peter's like weird confidence in different situations. And how he uses like his mask to let out his rage, which is fucking incel-y, internet-y, but somehow it works right now for me. But I like this. Jameson's gray hair still 2 issues in a row. I think we're gonna lock it in.
Today.
I feel like he's given up the hair coloring, but we'll see where he goes. Yeah, I like all of this.
Yeah. So we get Peter haggling for the price of the photo when the Vulture flies in, and then
What did he say? It was $12.50. Is that what he wants? Like, is it $12.50? Is that what he? Is that his page rate?
First he said $10, and it's like, but like Vulture's been seen everywhere. Everyone's been taking pictures. Spider-Man says, but this one's super up close, and she just says, okay, $12.50. How about that?
All right. Yeah. It's time to go to the inflation calculator and find out how much that actually is.
Yeah, how much would $12.50 be in these days?
And it was 1963, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
end of 1963.
That is $109.09. That tracks.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
He's $1,500 for a couple photos.
That's pretty good.
If he takes 2 photos a week, he's doing okay.
Doing all right.
So $10.
Take those girls to the movie.
$10 is only $87. So yeah, he's wanting an extra $20. Okay. Got it.
So the Vulture says, J. Jonah Jameson, I'm gonna take all your money. I'm gonna leave you broke. And Jay, he's like, have you no conscience? Have you no feelings? You're as bad as Spider-Man, which was a cute line. I love seeing everybody badmouth Spider-Man around Peter Parker. It's always fun to me. I don't know why. I never get tired of it. So they're arguing about money, and Peter just kind of silently sneaks away, which seems like a really bad oversight on the Vulture's part. Like, if you're trying to rob a place, don't let somebody walk away to, like, get help. I don't know. But he makes himself a little sling out of webbing, and they go fighting all throughout the office, and they're wrecking everything, of course. And they fly out of there. Vulture's going high up, preparing to drop him. And Spidey ties his wings, and then they're both falling. And Vulture's like, oh, no, save me. And they make a parachute. And that's how Spidey wins. And, of course, J. Jonah Jameson blames Spidey for the damages to his office. So Spidey webs up his mouth. And I
do love the character moment of Vulture where he's so cocky. He's like, Spider-Man, I will enjoy, like, I'm glad you are making jokes in this last moment before your death. And then, like, a second later, he's like, no, Spider-Man, save me. He's such a little wiener where he's just like the second he's not in control.
It's good. It's good stuff. And it ends with Peter running back into the office, telling Betty, oh, I was hiding in the closet. And Jameson's still running around. The place is a mess. So they just hide behind a desk and they flirt. It's very cute. It's a really cute moment.
It really is. It's really cute.
Like the office being in disarray and like everything seeming like chaos around them, and they're just like cracking jokes together. It's really nice.
It's really nice. It also like tracks well with like Peter's character, the idea that he's like chastised for being this person who hides during crises, which again, like, you know, 2021 is like, yeah, fucking hide from an active shooter. But at this time, like, this is considered a negative quality, but Betty did the exact same thing and is also like, that's very smart, Peter. Like, is a very cute moment that now, like, what has been considered like something that he like regrets or makes him look weak is actually like an asset or a strength or something appealing to somebody else. It like works really fucking well. Like, it's just a well-written scene.
When are we gonna get all this other bullshit rebooted and just get Betty and Peter back together? That's so cool.
Elizabeth Banks wanted him in those other movies, when she played Betty Brant in the Tobey Maguire movies.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember her having lines. I'm sure she did.
I think she just eyed him. She may have had like, Mr. Jameson, Peter's here, like, and nothing else.
Yeah, it was definitely like something like that. Like, hey, Mr. Jameson.
Yeah.
What a waste.
So that's a pretty good issue. I enjoyed
These
it
have
for
been
sure.
like the last 3 or 4 have been really good. Because it was like Sandman, Lizard, this one. It's a good year.
Well, I'm sure the next one is going to be good. The cover says it's a special tribute to teenagers issue, so I'm excited.
The cover says he tackles the Human Torch, which sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. I will say we've had a good run. I guess this is the first repeat we've had. A good run of like great iconic villains. We're maybe not going to see a great iconic villain next month, but we will see. We will see a boxing match, so that's good.
Oh, cool.
I do love boxing. Not really. I don't know anything about it. So what else are we gonna read next time? Ooh, so next time we're doing the Loki miniseries from 2004. Was that the year?
Yes.
It's a 4-issue miniseries written by Rodi with beautiful painted art by Esad Ribic. And it's just a quick little Loki story told, I think, mostly out of continuity. It's just kind of its own separate little thing. Just a story about Loki. I read it and remember enjoying it way back when it first came out. I hope that's still the case, but who knows? We'll see.
I know people liked it because it was also made in either I feel like a motion comic called Thor and Loki. They need to put the branding on there because Loki wasn't known, I guess, in like '08 or wherever. But I mean, other people must have liked it. I feel like this is the first time I ever saw Esad Ribic, who does a lot of covers, I want to say. But
yeah, so we'll check that out. We'll see what that's all about. Plus, Loki's getting his own movie or something. Is that right?
A mini series on Disney Plus. I think it's probably 6 to 8 issues, 6 to 8 episodes with Owen Wilson saying, "Oh wow, Loki, you broke the time stream."
Did he really? Is that in the trailer? I haven't seen the trailer.
Yeah, I don't think he says "oh wow" or "ka-chow," but or any of his things. But he definitely says, "Loki, you broke the time stream." Unlike everybody else who broke the time stream in Avengers Endgame, but specifically Loki. So it's going to be Loki and Owen Wilson, time cops. Should be fun.
Wait,
who is Owen Wilson
playing?
I have no idea. It's looks like one of those like secret organizations that like travels through time, but they dress like 1930s FBI agents. I don't know. This is my it's show run by a Rick and Morty writer, so I feel like it's going to be in that kind of vein. I don't know. I honestly saw the trailer 2 months ago. I don't remember much about it, and I've read nothing about it. But it looks fun. Tom Hiddleston's fun. He's charming. I don't think that I don't know how charming this Loki is or how much he resembles what happened in the movies.
Probably none. I think this Loki miniseries takes place entirely in Asgard. Okay. Is what I remember. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I remember.
You put this on my list literally in 2004, so 17 years ago, and I've never read it, despite it still sticking in my head that like Kia really loved this. I should read this.
Well, you're the one. We were talking about what to read next, and you brought it up. I'd forgotten about it.
Oh, you have. Well, 17 years ago, your recommendation stuck with me, but clearly not enough to read it.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens then. So we'll do Loki and Amazing Spider-Man #8. Our recording schedule's a little off here. Is there anything new to report for either of y'all that hasn't been reported yet?
I'm working on my Shrek Ogres and Dronkies video. I feel like I pushed it last week, but it's coming out because I think Shrek has it. Or now this is in the past because we're recording this like a week and a half ahead of time. Shrek is now 20 years old. Somebody once told me that. So that's where it's going on in our world. On All My Friends Are Right Here, the YouTube channel, where every single one of these episodes is. Please subscribe to either this podcast or that YouTube channel. Write comments. Tell us you love it. I have people liking our posts on our website, allmyfriendsarerighthere.com. I can't tell if they're bots or not, but people are liking the posts.
That's good.
I think I just have such a low opinion of myself. Like, they can't be real. These have to be bots.
No, we have fans. I've literally conversed with at least one fan of the show. And no, actually, at least 3, I would say. People who have listened.
And we've had great recommendations from some of our fans on the YouTube channel, suggesting we read stuff like Crisis on Infinite Earths and I think something else.
No, it's great. No, we really do love our fans. It's all the ways of just interact with us more so we can see it more, because it's like the internet. This is just how long have we been doing this now? Of just
6 years
this random
for Big Hero 6.
That's right, 6 years for Big Hero 6, and I think we're doing pretty good despite not really caring about the marketing aspect of it.
Our marketing is terrible. I'm glad you found us. Who y'all are listeners? I'm glad y'all found us.
I always wonder how people find us. So if you listen to us and you enjoy us, thank you. To that end, I will say I'm also on Twitch. I think some people have been over there. Kiarash with 3 R's in the middle. Kiarrash. It's more, all the other Twitch people mention this, and I feel weird doing it, but I'm going to say this now, especially for anybody who's listening and just doesn't care about Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime, and you can pick someone every month and just give them $250 free from Jeff Bezos. And so, I think Chris,
you're not giving Jeff Bezos $250. He's just somehow taking some of his money and giving it.
I'm just somehow getting free money. Yeah, and I don't understand. It means if you want to watch me, you don't have to watch ads. That's pretty nice. and I haven't streamed at all in the past week. So like, don't hope that I will be a regular streamer. My schedule's very inconsistent, y'all. Just deal with it.
But
I will say I forget if it was March or April, but I did it, Kia. I gave you $2.50 of Jeff Bezos's money.
I don't even remember seeing that as a notification. What?
Yeah,
Well, thank you.
It might have been March, but yeah, I know I did it either in March or April.
Well, there you go. Do it, listener, and you will also not be thanked by me until you overtly mention it to me.
I feel like we should talk about a podcast that does do good marketing and does appreciate its fans. And that's Chris.
That's right.
Tell us about your podcast.
Tell us about your other podcast that has better stuff than us.
Nick listens to this show, so he can hear that compliment. Your Stupid Minds, we did an episode on Mortal Kombat Annihilation that came out a couple of weeks ago. We will have a new episode coming out, but it is shrouded in mystery right now. The Fates can't tell you what it is today, because I don't think we're ready to release it in 2 weeks. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be out by the time this episode comes out, but it's not ready to talk about yet.
Wow, top secret, I guess. Oh, is it the movie Top Secret?
No.
Y'all already did Tokyo
Well,
Drift.
it was
Nick
close.
definitely texted me this week to talk with me for like an hour about Fast and Furious 9. He was very excited.
Yeah, he talked to me about it, and then he talked to you about it. He's very excited about these movies about cars that are very fast and the people who drive them, and long lost brothers, apparently.
Yeah, the Invisible Brothers. They're bringing in a different wrestler into that movie.
That's right.
Oh, who is
John
it?
Cena.
John Cena.
John
of
Cena
course.
is Vin Diesel's long lost brother, and he says, "You may be blood, but you're not family."
Oh, shit. God damn. I don't know anything about the Fast and the Furious franchise, but I know that family is the most important thing.
Yeah,
Familia.
Wow. Wow.
it's gonna be so.
As Vin Diesel likes to call it, when he clinks Coronas.
Yep.
Now, wait a minute. Did you just say it's his invisible brother?
Yeah,
Because he
I
could
don't know
see
a
That's
darn
right.
thing about wrestling, but I know that we're not
'Cause he
supposed to
can't
see
see
John
him.
Cena, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
Yeah,
get
That's
this.
right. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your story checks out, Vince. You're a super fan.
Yes, nailed it.
Good job. Good job. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Vince, I love you.
I love you, and I promise I won't play volleyball in the schoolyard anymore.
Oh, that's so nice. Chris, I love you.
Sorry, I was distracted by the word bang baby.
And I'm Kia. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. God, I'm never gonna forget the phrase "bang baby." I'm really gonna be trying to get this out of my. I'm gonna be trying to sleep at night. It's just be bang baby, bang baby. Can we just fade out of this podcast?
Please, if you ever
Bang,
see us on the
baby.
streets or on our Twitch streams, do not.
God,
that
so
should not be our
no.
tagline.
That's
That you
not the
recognize
thing
us
you
by.
yell.
Please don't.
We need a good quote. By the next episode, we gotta come up with a good quote that everyone just say "I love you." That's better. That's a much better quote. All right. Good night, listener. We love you. Bye.